What is up, guys, and welcome to another PLO Poker Coaching live stream. We are multi-tabling here on GG. We have 4 tables running right now. We do get one guy all in here, and this guy also really short stacked. So, obviously money's going in with a pair and a gut shot. Probably quite far behind kings. Yes, we are. And so yeah, definitely need to make some adjustments here to the short stacks at the table. Wanted to play pots with this guy behind. Unfortunately, this guy went for the limp jam. And so we are playing a few different tables, so let me know how it looks with the kind of automatic scene switching. I will try and stick on the tables in question, but obviously I will have to fold some other hands as well. So here with top 2, with 3 pair actually, and the backdoor flush draw, hand is definitely strong enough to bet. And we do get check raised, unblocking most of the straight draws. I think we do want to call one here. Obviously we can turn some decent equity, that being a very bad card, but it should slow him down if he does have us beat. So we can definitely check back, and I will just be folding. We don't really have the equity against a straight, and we also could just be pretty much dead against a set. So I'm just going to check back here. And on the table we have queens here, just going to be checking. And then we do face the large bet size here, and we don't really beat anything, to be honest. Any draws that he had get there, and we're obviously behind value. And with the queens, I am going to check call to the small sizing. And not the best river, because some of his bluffs will be 4x. So I actually don't mind betting small here. I mean, we can get value from like jacks and 10s maybe, but it's obviously an easy bet fold. And we might just be bluffing out the best hand. And I expect him to raise with like any king or a 4 here. I don't expect him to turn really much else into a bluff. And on this table, we have the overpair and flush draw. And I think no reason to bet. And I think we can likely just check fold. This guy is pretty loose, but potentially somewhat passive, so I think we can just fold. And I'm not going to limp this hand. It's too weak. Potentially want to call this hand with some nutted equity. Definitely not a standard call, but with a limp, with 2 what look like quite recreational players in the pot and a small sizing. I think that's the hand that I want to play. I don't think we have quite enough to lead, unfortunately, as a bluff. If I had a higher heart, maybe I would look to bet here. And I think just check folding out of position to 2 players is fine. And bottom left table, we flop a gut shot 3-way with 2 backdoor flush draws. I don't mind stabbing this with the 2 backdoors, but I am actually just going to check. And on this turn, I'm not sure what we actually get to fold. So I think just checking back against what look like quite loose players, to be honest. And can potentially bluff this river with a large sizing. I think a queen will fold. And people usually play pretty straightforward in multi-way pots, so don't mind the bluff there. And here we'll be raising connected ace, and I think this is a good board to actually bet. We can go for a small sizing with the wrap and the nut flush blocker. We obviously have equity against the king, and you know, we can obviously turn hands like this with a pair blocker. He obviously does still have some king queen in his range, so I'm actually going to check this turn and check call, just to kind of pot control here, with no real outs to improve against value. The pot size bet is interesting. And not a great river. So I don't expect any bluffs here, really. To be perfectly honest, he's not going to value bet a king at this point. And kind of unlikely that he has a flush. So when we do see the pot size bet, you know, I don't think people bluff too much in this spot. So I am actually just going to fold. And on this table, in a multi-way pot, we flop a pair and the nut flush draw. To this sizing, I will call. Turning 2 pair, and so do we have the equity? Not really. We can bluff other board pairing runouts though. Against this particular player. Is he going to kind of fall for that? I don't know. I think we could probably just let this go, to be honest. And raising the limp. On the top right table. And on this particular board, I am actually going to check back with Orbis to 2 pair. He can connect here with some 2 pairs, obviously with his limp calling range. Not the best turn, not the worst. And I actually don't mind betting now. I mean, actually without a heart, we probably shouldn't. You know, obviously he's going to have less like suited hands in his limp calling range, so you know, we can actually bet small here and get some protection from straight draws, and you know, obviously have a deceptive hand on pairing runouts, and then obviously just a easy check back on the river. And we did get called by worst two pair. So we are down to 3 tables right now, which might be a bit easier. It was a little hectic trying to keep up, to be honest. But yeah, let me know in the chat what you guys think about the switching between tables, whether you kind of prefer this or just the one table Russian cash. You know, Russian cash isn't always that exciting, given that people play quite nitty, so I do want to play some reg tables, but yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. With the Ace of Hearts here, could go either way and check this one back, to be honest. I actually might do. We do unblock a lot of the straight draws though, and this guy seems quite recreational, so I think we can get called relatively wide on the flop, and I don't think that we want to turn our hand into a bluff. I mean, it's always a trade-off. Obviously, we have the nut blocker, but you know, it's a trade-off between showdown value and the kind of strength of our blockers. We don't block any straight draws. We do have the nut blocker, but we do have a good amount of showdown. So I think we want to check back, and now I could potentially see myself bluffing because there are a lot of hands that we actually lose to. But against a player like this, I don't think that he'll fold straight, to be honest. And the nut flush blocker is kind of irrelevant in this spot. I would rather have like the queen or jack high flush draw blocker because he's probably going to bet his nut flush draws on the river. So I am just going to check back with some showdown value, expecting to lose a good amount of the time. But we do win. We have a couple of all-ins going in, actually. That's why we don't have any action. There's there's 2 all-ins. Actually quite a big pot over here on the left. Not straight versus 2 pair and flush draw. And unfortunately, well, I actually don't know if this plays recreational or not, but he just got stung. It's pretty loose open on the button, but big blind looks kind of tight. I've played with him in a few spots. Yeah, so I think we have enough fold equity with this hand. Probably not a board that I'm going to stab on here. I just don't think we have enough interaction with the board, and we can obviously bluff some turns and rivers. And there's not going to be too much 4-5 in my range, but kind of given the passivity from these guys, I am actually going to bet, and you know, if we do river flush, we can still wrap it, and we do have a decent blocker in the queen of spades, because more about middling. Flushes are actually going to kind of check back on the flop, and obviously folding to the jam. And with this guy behind, I am actually going to call here. This is obviously not a GTO call, but he does fold, which is not ideal. And it's not great that this guy says "wop" when we're about to try and rep the nuts, when he just basically announced to the table that he would have flopped the nuts. And I am going to probably triple off here. Maybe not with the ace blocker, to be honest. On the other table, we have aces on a pretty dry board. I don't mind check calling here with the backdoor flush draw. And yeah, bottom right, he calls again on the turn, and it's whether we want to fire river. We obviously can't win at showdown, but given that this guy gave it the whop, I think this guy's going to call us down with 2-pair and a blocker, or the lowest straight. And then just checking top left. And we do river the nuts top left. And we're waiting to see if that guy bets on the river. But here, three-way. I'm going to size up with these two players in the pot. They seem to be pretty active. And we do get bet into on the bottom right. And yeah, I think it's a pretty believable check raise if he doesn't have the nuts. It's pretty hard to call, but yeah, I think we're just gonna give it up. Maybe the turn bet isn't the best double barrel, blocking types of hands that will call a flop and fold, like ace and a gut shot. Against these two very wide players, I'm going to squeeze in position. And we take it down. And we start table, so we'll get some heads up action. Pretty good start. Oh, I mean, this guy's 10 BB deep, so we're just gonna pot the flop. And we are against 7753. That's a pretty rough turn. Pretty rough turn. And against this guy's limp, I'm gonna complete here with queens three-handed, and yeah, we get Rubber City. Not folding, just gonna get it in, and this is so short. It's just like burning money. Sure enough, once we run into aces. This guy's deciding on the cash out as I'm basically drawing dead. Fun times. This would be a little loose. Can make the argument for it with this guy behind because it's probably going to go forward. We just don't really have flush drawouts. Why not? I think I timed out. Probably for the best. And I'm just going to c-bet relatively aggressively against this particular guy in the bottom right until he plays back on paired boards. With a diamond blocker, I think it's okay. And obviously, folding. And three-handed, I am actually going to three-bet these kings and just stack off against this guy. Pretty decent shape. Looking to avoid an ace. Now we gotta dodge some wheel cards, but we do hold. Big 30 BB pot, and I am gonna 3-bet here to try and isolate on top left. And we do have aces on the bottom right, so in the limp pot we are going to raise that up. And we unfortunately do get 4-bet, but we are not folding with this hand, obviously. And yeah, I think we just have to fold, unfortunately. Bottom right with our aces, we do flop a straight draw on a pair blocker. Three-way, I think this was just too connected. You basically have no fold equity. Upright, I am actually going to lead. It's pretty good for my opening range. And then just going to check fold on the bottom right. On this table, we c-bet small on the flop, and I think kind of just want to give up at this point. We're not getting him to fold much at this SPR. And this is a very small bet. It's pretty hard to fold. And we do get 3-bet again here out of position, but we do get a caller, so we kind of get the odds to call, unfortunately. and calling a 3-bet down here with backdoor flush draw, backdoor wrap. I think we have enough to call it off. Yeah, 33%. %85 equity on the turn. It's a pretty good turn. And just giving up on top left. I'll be honest, guys, feels a little confusing. I'm not sure if you guys are able to keep up with the action. Jumping between tables. Let me know in the chat. We can always mix it up and just go to a Russian cash table. We do need some protection. We do have a backdoor flush draw and decent bluff catching on a few runouts, so just gonna check back here. And we do have aces on the bottom right. Against a bet on this turn, I am going to call. It's a pretty large bet. Honestly, might fold against this player. It's usually what it looks like, to be honest. And then overpair and nut flush draw on this board. Actually don't mind going for the check raise here. Oh, we are multi-way. I didn't realize this guy called too. But not a great board, not one that we're going to stab at much. And not going to fold the turn yet. And rivering the nuts is nice. So I mean, we kind of butchered playing this hand because it was multi-way. We had a pair blocker, overpair, nut flush draw. We could have probably led the flop. I mean, I'm gonna have a lot of nut flush draws here after check calling turn, and likely someone else has a flush draw once we get to this point. Given that I block a pair, it's likely that there's a straight and flush draw out there. And we do get called by a flush. And so we defended the small blind, flopping top pair and a gut shot. Given the kind of raising range out of the small blind, you know, he's gonna have plenty of continues here, and we don't really want to build a pot. Even though we do need some protection with our hand, I mean, we can also just start building a pot against like jacks, queens. So potentially on this turn with a straight blocker and unblocking diamonds, I don't mind betting. because we can get some weaker hands to call at this point. And then obviously just checking down showdown value. And we lose the straight. Bottom right going to be squeezing ace king king 5 here. And here with a pair blocker and backdoor flush draw, I think I'd find just pot stacking off an SPR less than 2. Obviously not ideal to not have a diamond, but... And then defending here against the min res. And we'll be check folding flop. Against this player, I'm actually going to call on the button. He's going very wide, and we also have this guy that might call behind, which he does. And snap checks through. I don't think there's really any reason to bet. There are plenty of turns that we can try and take the pot away on. That being one of them. And I think just going for the pot sizing here. And then basically firing another barrel on a non-spade, non-pairing run out. And we do take it down. We're on the wrong table. Pretty trashy hand here. I don't think we have quite enough to bet. I will be betting this turn though. It's pretty good for my check back range. And we'll bet. And I'm gonna fold over here. And he snap calls. And I think that we can just bet small. I think that the draws miss and he'll all fold, so either we're running into kind of the nuts or all fold. So no real reason to bet larger. We could probably even bet a third, to be honest. Yeah, I think we might switch this up to Russian cash. It's a little easier to keep up with the hands and kind of talk through my thought process. So we'll see if we can achieve that seamlessly. So let's close down some of these tables. And so we get a pretty good hand to start in Russian cash. Multi-way, not the best flop. It's pretty disconnected. I think this is kind of like a small c-bet here with the ace of clubs and then just kind of fold. And three-way here, not going to be considering bluffing here. I mean, our flush blocker is irrelevant at SPR1. Nobody's folding a flush, so. All right, so back to one table, Russian cash. What is up, Gus? No, these are not the stakes that I usually play. Just there's always a lot going on, so I don't usually stream the highest stakes that I play. I sometimes put them in videos. I usually play mostly 2-5 now, some 1-2 and some 5-10, but the 5-10 that I usually play is also usually heads up, so I don't particularly want to stream that for a variety of reasons. Yeah, and usually, you know, most people kind of request PLO 100, PLO 50 in terms of the player pool that they're against. But if you have specific stakes that you want me to play, let me know. Here with, you know, not a fantastic hand. I mean, this is usually like a range check when you get called by the button. And I don't mind check calling here, to be honest, given that we have 3 overs to the 4 for a 2-pair. We could consider check raising, but I think our hand is a little bit too strong. And a little too strong to fold, a little too strong to turn into a bluff. And that is a pretty good turn. Probably won't have many leads on this turn. We do also block some of the straight draws, and we do have a heart blocker, so we can call down on more rivers. Obviously, he does have a lot of king-king in his range, but we do heavily block that. And kind of weird that he goes for the small sizing on this turn card. Should really be kind of polarizing. I kind of just want to raise at this point. If we run into a set, we run into a set. I think people tend to bet bigger with a set here in this position. So he might have like pair and flush draw, which, you know, I don't particularly want to just allow him to see a river for a small size bet. Get the walk with aces. So depending on callers, I mean, I'm not sure on this end as to whether I want a 3-bet or not. I think probably with the queen high suit, this might be a 3-bet. I don't know how, I just timed out. Gus, yes, I do. Are you asking if I offer heads up coaching or if I have a heads up coach? Either way, the answer is yes. It's a very different strategy, but it does help construct, I think personally, a better conceptual understanding of the game. You're going to get into so many more awkward spots with marginal hands on turns and rivers that you just need to have better hand reading ability than you usually do in a 6-max setting. Okay, so nut straight. Check down pot. I mean, I think there's definitely value in betting here. We can definitely get called by an overpair, or unlikely that he has queen X. Most of the time we're just going to see folds there, but with a pair blocker I think it's fine. And this looks like someone that we would like to play some pots with. Unfortunately out of position, but with a pretty nice hand. And I'm gonna have a relatively high check frequency here, and I don't think that we have enough here to call a large size, even with the 2 backdoor flush draws. Yeah, I think the under the gun range is just so tight in Russian cash that you can get away with folding those hands. I think that it's enough that it makes me want to play this in position. Kind of would depend on how aggressive these guys are at 3-betting. It doesn't seem too out of line, but obviously we get 3-bet, and I don't think it's actually good enough to call. even though we're getting very good odds since we're going, or thought we would likely be going pot way, but it's unfortunately too disconnected. Obviously here we were just really trying to play against this player in position. A little too disconnected here. 10-10, 7-6, something like that. Can look to play. And I think with a relatively tight button and big blind, I'm fine opening this hand. Calling a 3-bet against the blinds, but likely folding to a button 3-bet. And it's like something that I see a lot. You know, people don't adjust their 3-bet calling ranges for in position and out of position enough. They both end up being roughly about the same, but in fact you have obviously a much larger holding frequency out of position. I mean, it's roughly double, so if you're not taking that into account when you're looking at calling 3-bets, definitely make sure you look into that. There are plenty of free pre-flop solution stuff out there from a solver, so no excuse to not really have your pre-flop game down. Actually have a link in the below to Pilo Mastermind. Those guys have the best software out there, in my opinion. And 3-bet here, I probably would just fold to a bet, to be honest. Because like in this situation, our blockers like aren't that relevant. Like we're not folding out ace deuce or kind of like deuce 6. So it's obviously best to have like 6s here. And if I had 6s, I would potentially have called on the flop, but here I think it's just a pretty standard fold. Yeah, I'm actually gonna be right back. Okay. Just try and get some action going. Yeah, too much of a coordinated board with not enough interaction to kind of go for a stab here. We could actually bet the turn. I actually prefer checking back and then bluffing river on spades if we don't improve. And likely have to call. Question is, do we have value? And like obviously we have the best hand like nearly all of the time here. It's just what do we get called with, and yeah, I don't think there's too many hands. So it's not really worth running the risk of just kind of like betting there and getting raised, because people do underbluff for sure, but if there's one spot where people overbluff, it's with flush draw blockers. And so if someone has the ace of hearts there, even though their line makes absolutely no sense, they'll often still just go for it or go for the check raise on the river. So I think the upside versus downside of betting there is not there, so I'm just checking back. And without a heart, I don't really want to bet this middle pair. And again, I think overvaluing protection, some people would try and bet here, but realistically, any hand that has decent equity against you is not going to fold, and pretty much any river plays like a nightmare, so... Apart from that one, that's a pretty good one. Question is our hand strong enough to raise? I think we could click it back. Problem is, like, this guy can still have queens. I mean, he does have like a very wide range. But yeah, I don't mind. We'll get called by flush for a min raise. And the fact that this guy didn't raise, I think we should be good. This is not really an open with two wheel cards in there. Only a 10 kicker. But obviously pretty tight table, but we get called by the 7% VPIP guy. I am actually gonna lead this flop. I don't think people are stabbing enough to get value from bluffs, and you know, there's plenty of decent turns for us. It's not really one of them. Obviously, there's plenty of kings, plenty of rundowns that now just picked up open-enders, or like flush draw, straight draw, like king 10 two pairs. So I am actually going to check this turn. I was hoping to just kind of knock out some equity from the flop, and that is a pretty gross bet. And I think that we just want to fold when he pots into two people. We can be drawing pretty much dead against king 10, and any of his draws that just picked up additional equity on the turn we're probably like flipping against, to be honest. So yeah, not a great situation to be in. Um, I could see leading here, given that it's like somewhat disconnected, but without a spade, it's pretty rough. I will be calling this bet. Obviously, he can bet here with plenty of bluffs, and you know, we can turn some equity on a 9, or even bluff on like an 8 or something like that as we go forward with the 4 blocker as well. I mean, this guy is just like a crazy super nit. So I think we just fold now, having not picked up any additional equity. As it's just very likely he has a 9, obviously in that spot. You can make an argument for it on blocking spades, but people tend to play their flush draws kind of more passively than they should on those boards, so the range kind of tends to be skewed more towards value, and we're obviously not in very good shape against that. And we'll probably just check call the flop and then evaluate turns, because there are plenty of turns that we could have a leading range on. And obviously we have the double gut shot. And some pretty decent blockers. Not the turn we were looking for. And we'll just be check folding. Basically any hand he has us in very rough shape. Low end of the rack, multi-way, no backdoor flush draws, all pairs. Definitely just want to check call. You can just be in such bad shape, and honestly, we could probably just fold. We could probably just fold to this recreational play. Yeah. Out of position with chasing a pretty shitty draw. I don't mind it. I think with a suit, I would probably 3-bet this. But this would be really gross to get 4-bet with this hand. And debating checking back here with a spade and flush draw blockers, but I don't think the value is there, to be honest. I don't think people are bluffing enough, so I would rather just try and get called light rather than check back and hope that someone stabs. It's a pretty nice turn. So on a blank, we're pretty much using a pot-sized bet because the nuts didn't change. We still have the polarity advantage. I like to go a little bit smaller here. I think it kind of signifies a bit more weakness. And so he's usually going to jam a hand like 7-7 here on this turn. That's not the best river. Do we get extra points for 2 sets? It's what is he gonna call us with, right? We're really targeting like 6s and 7s, which is like a pretty small portion of the range. Wow, he's calling down very light. But I don't think he's calling about in the river, so although, you know, there's a good chance he obviously doesn't have the straight. It's like, again, what's the upside? And I will be 3-betting this. Definitely squeezing this. And this is gonna be a relatively bad board for my particular hand with that kind of like mid-connected board, and we actually have some good equity on a lot of turns, and turns that he will kind of go wild on. You know, like a 7 he can get pretty aggressive on. So I don't mind checking back. And you know, when he checks again, potentially our 2 outs are live as well. That's a pretty bad run out, unfortunately. I just don't think we wrap anything. I think that we lose a lot to like Jack X here, to be honest, but yeah, I don't see him folding his hand, to be honest. Not to a single barrel in the river. Little too loose to open. Well, way too loose, but a little too loose even for me. This guy's opening pretty wide, so we could look to squeeze with this hand and really reduce the SPR. That's just a little weak. Maybe if this was a cutoff and a button call, I would go for a squeeze. And obviously no leads on this flop, calling out the big blind. I am struggling the most out of everybody's range. And with the backtop flush draw, do we want to call? I don't think so, to be honest. Maybe if we had a heart, so that when we turn our straight but the flush comes in, we don't always have to fold. I think it's somewhat close, but probably just a fold. Oh, Tio in the chat. What's up, man? I appreciate that. I appreciate the good luck, and I will take all of it. Still haven't got any cash drops yet. Would be nice to get a couple of those going with the pros in the mix for the double cash drop Friday, whatever it is. With the 5, I mean, if I didn't have a king here, if I had like ace 10 5x, this could be a good candidate to raise, but I think ace king's a little too strong, and you know, we have some turns that we can obviously improve on, but bluff on too. And with the king of clubs, we could actually check raise this hand. We block some of the draws. And I think here I might actually go for the check raise. We have good showdown value and we can still win. Like, he can check back ace queen here. He has ace king. But yeah, usually if you have like a decent showdown hand, but also have, you know, kind of like a nut blocker or like nut straight blockers, you usually want to check, just because you can, you know, see that have some showdown value to either win or chop. And then facing a bet when you know that you're no good, you can then go ahead and utilize your blockers if you see fit. Like, you're not getting a flush to fold there, and obviously he's betting probably all of his flushes or most of his flushes. So you're not going to get a flush to fold ever when you lead out, but if you check and he bets, he likely does have a flush, and then you can often get people to fold a flush there if you check jam, but obviously never if you just lead out. And we'll definitely be defending here. Pot size bet, it's kind of interesting. I think we do have a call, unfortunately. And what does he pot and then check back on the turn? With a diamond blocker, I'm gonna kind of just bet small here. I could do this with some sets. Like, he could have a set and a flush draw. I don't really want to bet large, because if I just pot this, he can basically always just only call with straights. Here we kind of test some more of his range. In terms of his 2 pairs and sets that he might have, or like the lower end. I attempted to call this min raise. Very low 3-bet stats. This guy was a bit deeper, I would probably raise this hand just to force out some of the equity behind. It's a very dry board. Against the sizing, I honestly don't mind jamming, given that we don't have hearts and we unblock the straight draws that he could be leading on the flop. I don't know why people would use this sizing, like with a set or a top 2. I mean, could just get totally burned here, but snap all in, so that's not good. And we have 82% equity. So yeah, this is what I mean, like that sizing like makes no sense on the turn. We'll run it twice for him. And like when you just have a hand like this, when you have this kind of two-pair hand, like we call and, you know, the river's a jack, an ace, a king, it's very tough to play, and against that small sizing, like you are often ahead, and you don't really want to give them a cheap river. And definitely calling 3-bet here. And pretty disconnected board, so obviously very good for his 3-betting range. He will 3-bet a good portion of kings and ace high rundowns from the big blind versus small blind, so it's just so likely that he connects with this turn, given that we block an ace, and, you know, can have 2-pair type hands, although I think he bets most king X on the flop. And he snapjacks back. Could he possibly have jacks? Could he have jacks? Maybe. Maybe. That is very strange. I mean, I would think that he bets most air on the flop. And if he doesn't, that he bets most of it on the turn, given that that's a relatively good card for his range. So yeah, kind of weird to give up in that spot, I think. But we will take it. And yeah, obviously calling this 3-bet in position. And whiffing pretty hard. This flop kind of misses everybody's range, 2 backdoor flush draws, and some blockers that we can use. Don't mind taking a stab here. And then obviously just folding to the raise. I mean, we maybe shouldn't even fold that, to be honest. We maybe shouldn't even fold. But even his 10x hands have like pretty good equity against us. And I'm just actually gonna fold here with not even any backdoor equity. So this is the hand that I would actually look to raise in position. With a king blocker and a straight draw blocker. And like not really much playability. If you get jammed on, it's not a big deal. But there are definitely some turns that we can barrel. On like low spades, straightening cards, and even blanks with the king. And yeah, it's a pretty good card for us to bluff on, to be honest, obviously with the king blocker. And blocking a club. I'll obviously be giving up if we get called here. Not ideal that we block a jack now, because we obviously want him to have those hands, but you take it down. We keep playing against the sponsored GG pros, but unfortunately not on a cash drop. With a heart here and backdoor clubs, definitely a good board for my range and one that I want to lead. And then just gonna triple off, basically, on the one card straight with the 2-4s. Get called here sometimes with 2 pairs and sets with flush draws as well. So it is a hand that we have to be prepared to triple. On obviously non-pairing on flush draws. Runouts. Not a good turn when we block the straight and block clubs. Obviously a lot of two-parent sets in a calling range. And hopefully we win against 7-6. I honestly am tired and completely misread that board. I realized we had the second nut straight. That's funny. Probably a bit of a brutal bet. Justin, happy Friday to you as well, sir. I appreciate the good luck. It's been a very long Friday, so if you guys could wake me up, that would be great. I've been playing a lot today, actually. Four-way, I'm probably not going to have many leads on this board, to be honest. But we can definitely call with some night outs and backdoors. Oof, baby, give it to me. I think we check again, to be honest. In a four-way pot, first to act. Apart from these guys are a bunch of nits. I'm gonna river the nuts and get no value now. I think I'm just gonna bet small and hope someone kind of loses their shit with like 10-7. And deuce my raise, but interesting. I'll probably defend this against this guy, to be honest. It's pretty wide for Russian cash. Yeah, against these two players, I mean, there are people that I definitely want to be in the mix with. I think this makes a pretty good board to lead. I mean, I have 0 equity, but I do have some things that we can do on turns, for sure. But it looks like it's not going to end too well. This kind of player I expect to raise a 4. We do block a straight draw, which is unideal, but it's a very blank turn. Man, I need to go to bed. Blind aggression. Not working. I think realistically, when you think about it, when you have a 5 in your hand, it's like really not a great double barrel. And also, bluffing out a position with 0 equity is usually not a great strategy. So, yeah, not the best educational hand right there. Tito, I am playing. I usually try and play like 10,000 hands a week. So if I don't take any time off in the month, it's usually like 40,000 hands. I don't play huge volume. I don't think we. This guy's so short. We can just fold. Yeah, I don't play like huge volume. Like I'm not like a Russian cash kind of, or 6 table GG player. I've been getting more volume because it's a bit faster in the UK on GG. When I'm in the US, Ignition is max 4 tables, and they have, I think, the longest time bank in any online site. So that's like 250 hands an hour at best. So it's like not great. But yeah, those are kind of the numbers that I shoot for, and try and just focus on the win rate. I am going to just pot stack off here. I think we block enough of the board to make it tough for him to continue, and we have enough equity. But betting small and getting called would be pretty gross on basically any turn. Pretty tough hand to play. You know, good kind of future blockers and immediate fold equity on the flop. So I think it's pretty standard C bet, and that's not the turn we were looking for double barrels. Obviously, wheel cards, blanks, kind of overpass the board, probably. We could bet here. I'm just hoping to get in a check back with a flush draw, but I think we're just pretty cooked at this point. We can just fold. I think it's a decent candidate to bet. Maybe if you had a backdoor flush draw. But I mean, 2-pair open ender can't be that bad. Pretty good flop. Obviously gonna be betting at a high frequency in these sort of limp call pots when it's kind of Broadway heavy cards. Yeah, I was thrown off for a second there. I was like, why didn't GG give me the little nuts thing? I don't know how aggressive this guy is, so I'm just gonna continue betting. I don't want to risk him just checking back, and given that we have clubs, the straight, not straight, heavily blocked, and the ace of spades, I am actually gonna go pot because I don't think that he necessarily has a draw, but he can definitely find some calls given that you know, he might not have clubs and hearts in his hands, but have a set, might have the low straight. I guess we have the same hand, which just sucks since we have 2 aces. I'll probably 3-bet the button with this hand, even though we don't have the nut suit. And that is unfortunate. But we do have to call. And the question is, do we just jam? I think so. I don't think we get him to fold much, but 2 backdoor flush draws and a double gutter. We're not going anywhere and we're flipping. We win the first. Always nice to win the first. Very tight blinds, I think it's worth an open. Would definitely prefer to have the 9, but bottom pair blocker, straight draw blockers, and basically no hope for our hand. I think it makes a pretty standard c-bet. Blocking the straight draw and not having a heart. Don't really want a double barrel here, to be honest. Had that been a non-heart, that would have been fantastic. An offsuit 5, but not much to do. Could rep like a straight with a heart blocker. We do unblock like the kind of ace-x type hands. And we get snapped off. It's interesting that he if I'm trying to think about this, but I would likely lead there with his hand, or he should be check raising, in my opinion. It's a little loose to fend on the button, but not when you flop the nizzles. Do block a lot. I guess we could check back. And then likely raise turn. Flop flopping the jack high flush. I might go. Yeah, I don't mind betting here on blocking pairs. Probably check back turn, depending on what he does on the flop. And just gonna keep 3-betting this guy. I mean, he's opening pretty wide. This is actually a pretty nice 4-bet bluff if he does do that. Should we give it to him? I think we should give it to him. I think we should give it to him. Just in case he wants it. Just in case he wants it. That always feels nice. That's just purely like a game flow, like he's... when you 3-bet someone twice in a row, they get a little, often over-ambitious and think that you're trying to push them around. And obviously we have... It's probably a GTO 5-bet, to be honest. Like, if you have any sort of 5-bet bluffing range. Like, we're not going to do terribly if we end up getting it in against aces there. And kings with a suit and a 9. Definitely open. The question is, do we want to call? Likely gonna go 3-way with this guy in the big blind. Yep. Actually gonna check back here. And he's just insta-checking, so... Doesn't really seem like we'll get much value. And that's a pretty bad river. I guess we pot fold. Jan, what is going on, my man? I am glad that you made it to a live session. You have the record for the most comments on my videos, I think. So I'm glad that you're here with us live. Just in time for us to flop the nuts twice in a row. So I'm pretty much checking range on this board. Blocking a pair on the turn. Yeah, I mean, it's just very tough to get value in that spot, and whenever I'm on the fence of trying to get value, I am usually going to assume that people are more likely to call down light than they are to bluff wide, so... Oh, the chat liked the 5-bet bluff. It's always nice when it works. Next time when I get aces jammed down my throat and look like an idiot, we can all laugh together. This guy's pretty wide. Here's some okay kings. And Russian cash, I don't mind making these calls as much because you actually play more heads up pots because like these guys end up folding behind. So I don't always hit it, but I think after this guy calls, I mean, it takes all of the air out of his range, so, and we block a 10, so it's just very likely that someone has a queen here. Maybe not. Interesting, interesting. I mean, we were still behind, obviously. Tempted to play this, hoping this guy comes along behind. Again, I'm gonna be relatively loose with my kind of button cold calling. Anytime that I can play pots against recreational players in position, I'm gonna take that opportunity. This is a very kind of weird bet. I almost want to float here, to be honest, but I think this guy probably overcalls too much. Or just raises. So good fold, good fold. Just gonna complete here in the big blind. And no real leading range on this board. Still, I mean, we don't really need protection from much, to be honest. And we're obviously never folding our better. Ace King's never folding. So, better to just check call with a decent bluff catcher. We could bet for value now. We could get called by worse. Little loose, little loose. And just not trying anything on this flop. So with the snapjacks, Queen of Diamonds, I mean, I don't hate it. It's pretty tough to call in this spot without a jack. When you're these players that have kind of snap-checked instantly, and then I'm kind of like leading out pot into two people. People give you a lot of credit. Against the min sizing, I'm gonna call. And again, I mean, there's not too many draws that we get called by, but we don't obviously have much equity against an 8, which is like gonna be the majority of his raising range, so I don't mind betting here. Obviously a pretty bad river. Makes sense. Do I enjoy Russian cash on GG? I have to be honest, I don't love it. I think you get into a lot more interesting spots in regular tables, and yeah, and I was playing regular tables earlier in the session, but it felt a little hectic of people trying to keep up with the hands, so I went back to Russian cash, but we'll see what people kind of say in the comments and whether that was whether it was okay or not. I don't mind it. It's very good for this sort of format stuff. So I think we just go like small here. Obviously we basically have the nuts. That's an unfortunate river. I don't know that he checks back sets, and obviously not too many 2 pairs on this card. He might call down now aces with a club. That's like definitely a possibility. And just fold. Second part of your question, yeah, and population tendencies. Everyone is a super nit, is basically the short of it. I don't know if you have a play on here, but you'll see the VPIPs as we're playing are usually in the low 20s, and which is why I open relatively wide a good amount of the time, just because you have a lot more fold equity in the blinds. So people tend to fight for smaller pots more, I think. So usually a pretty aggressive strategy works well. This is a tough one just because we have a lot of fold equity on the flop, like right away. And I'm actually going to lead small here. Obviously just trying to take it down, but we can call a raise with a backdoor flush draw and overs against like ace-6. So now with 3 pair on the turn on a very non-draw heavy board on the flop. So really the hand I would be scared of would be 6s, because obviously we block deuces and aces, and those are going to be the kind of like check call sets. He could definitely have a hand like ace-6 with very poor backup and elect not to raise. So this is a really tough spot now. I mean, we can't fold. It's like, what can he have? So what does he check? Right? I mean, obviously we block almost everything, and then he checks, and I think, again, when we evaluate and we think that he can't really have that many sets, that's what we try and get to fold when we pot this river. I think we just take our showdown value. He could show up with ace queen for sure, or a set, which is rough, but oh wow, okay. Okay. We run into the bullets. That's interesting there that he just flagged that pre-flop. Obviously the absolute dream. I can't really fold here to the min-raise 4-way. Not a bad board to check res, to be honest, but this guy's a little too short, and he's going to be able to get it in too light, where it's not as effective. The shorter you get, the less relevant blockers are, and you just want to structure your range around kind of like equity. It's a pretty good flop. You could consider checking back, given that this is like the worst set, and without a backdoor flush draw, I probably would. Now basically every single straight gets there. Do have diamonds as well. I don't mind betting here. There's still so much that he can call us with. I think probably I would like to do it more with top set though. Although he is raising most top sets on the flop, check raising, so. Obviously call or raise, it's just not ideal. Yeah, we got min raised, so obviously we're not folding. Interesting to see what he has. He could have us in very rough shape if he has the straight and diamonds, obviously, but obviously not folding. And pretty good river, I guess. And I guess we're just jamming for value. Oh, that's not good. Okay. I mean, we'll take it, guys. We will take it. We will definitely take it. I'm just trying to say exactly what he had. Okay. So he turned the nuts. I'm gonna be betting at a high frequency here on ASI boards against the big blind. So yeah, he turned the nuts with spades, and then yeah, rivered the queen without a diamond blocker and called it off, which is quite strange, given that he blocks. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really like jamming like the straight there on the 4-card straight. So he really wants to be blocking a diamond to be blocking like my value jamming range, and to not have a diamond at all. Not the best hand to hero call with, but people find it very tough when they have the nuts with the redraw to the nuts, and then they get the worst river possible for their hand. They often can't let it go. I'm raising here just because this guy hasn't played a hand in 26 hands. So basically it's, I have that hand on the button. It's probably a little loose. I don't think we can fold to a half pot size bet, to be honest. And obviously that's a fantastic card for his range. And when he doesn't bet that turn, we kind of often have the best hand here. Unless he just spiked a king. Very, very strange. Not sure how he doesn't bet the turn in position there, but I'll be right back. Pretty nice hand to come back to. Okay, we get 3-bet. Obviously 4-betting. And SPR 1, backdoor flush draw, I mean, not gonna fold, so probably going to be in rough shape a lot of the time here though, but we only need 30% equity. And we do take it down. Yeah, and what do you mean? Aren't reg tables always like the same? I mean, on every site I know the difference between GG Russian cash and reg tables. About the tendencies, I thought about the same. Isn't it always kind of fast forward seeing Russian cash stuff? Not sure what your question is yet. You asking me about population tendencies in Russian cash? Or just general population tendencies? Top 2 with some future straight blockers. Again, very high bet frequency on A-side boards, not when it's kind of like ace low low. And obviously not a bit connected, but guy seems quite wide for Russian cash. On the king, I mean, he shouldn't have too many ace-king hands given that we block it, and a lot of those combos are obviously 3-betting pre-flop. So, unblocking hearts, I am going to go ahead and pot the turn, and I will be pop folding. Yeah. I think a pretty standard squeeze against these two loose ranges. And in this spot, I kind of want to like bet small and like stack off against this guy. I mean, our hand is pretty trash, but if this guy jams, this guy's in a very tough spot, and so we can often, yeah, I mean, well, we can make very simple decisions like this and fold, but you know, obviously we can force this guy out with marginal hands, and yeah, this is I guess he doesn't have that much left behind. Let's raise it up with all the wheel cards. Probably shouldn't do this with a 50 VPIP cutoff and a 45 VPIP button, so, but we still take it down because, as I said, this is a nit fest. And I don't want to prompt this guy again to 4-bet bluff me, so I am just going to call. See if this guy actually calls. This is first hand. Oh, I thought it was the other guy that had played 0 hands in like third. So I mean, this guy's snap-checked. This is a pretty gross run out for his range. We do have a blocker. Can rep all sorts on the river. And we can also have the best hand. Very unlikely anymore. And we're probably not getting him to fold straights now, to be honest. So we could check, and we could actually check raise. But that might be a little ambitious. Because I have aces. Yeah, Tio, were you watching at the beginning? We were playing reg tables at the beginning, so like once the stream's over, like go back to the beginning, I guess, of the video. Once it's on YouTube, and let me know like how that worked, how it looked, and whether it was like too much carnage to keep up with, because I had on automatic switching, so whatever table I click on it moves to, and I might have to change it to where I'm like manually controlling it to flick between the tables, so that it doesn't always jump away from the table like when I click fold on a hand that's like not interesting, for example. I don't really have too many leads on this turn, and I'm not going to check raise here just because we're very deep, and pretty much any river is going to be gross. So yeah, I mean, we're just going to call and pray that he checks down unless we hit a king or a 10. I mean, so this river kind of makes absolutely no sense for me to lead after check calling twice. And that's why I think I want to just pot it. Because he's going to assume that I'm raising sets and 2 pairs on the river, and he most likely missed a draw. And he's not going to bet that anyway. So I'd rather try and have him hero call me with like an overpair, or like obviously get value from like another king X. That is a very non-standard pot on the river after check calling. Um, and yes, like always, I'm sorry for bad English. No, not at all, Yan. Where are you from, Yan? I forget, but whatever your first language is, you definitely speak that better than I speak it, so... Not a bad board to actually lead, to be honest, with 3 clubs. My question is, are there differences between any site in case of reg tables and formats? It's kind of an interesting turn, actually. Blocking all the clubs and it being a relatively connected turn card and overpair to the board. I'm actually going to check. We can check call, obviously. And we wouldn't really want to get raised by Jack 10, which we have like a ton of equity against. And I mean, it's a pretty fantastic river. Question is, do we check? Is he going to bet a lower straight? I have all of the clubs. So I think I do want to have some leads on this river. And having 3 clubs in my hand, yeah. My donk pot strategy has not worked out well so far in this session. I think we could probably go 75% because whenever someone sees pot, they kind of freak out. Okay. Other differences in GG to other sites in terms of population tendencies. I'm guessing that's what you're saying. I don't really know, to be honest, because as I said, I don't play much volume on GG. I mostly kind of use it for streaming because the reg is like ridiculously high. So I would not be the best person to ask. But from a game strategy theory perspective, it's a very high reg. So if you're trying to win, you have to definitely understand your cold call ranges and your general sort of like VPIP frequencies to make sure you're kind of hitting those correctly. Oh, we got our first cash drop. And then also, like, you need to make sure that you're adjusting to stack sizes, because given that GG allows you to buy in so short, you're going to have to be able to deal with those really short stacks and what that means for your overall strategy, especially pre-flop. Ah, German. Yeah, my German is very bad. I only know some of the bad words in German. That's really all I know. I can't speak actual sentences. I just know how to insult people. Tito from yesterday's what is that? PokerStars leaderboard? Are you asking if I'll play on PokerStars, Tito? I don't know what your question is. But yes, I am trying to play more reg tables. I just have to find out the best way to do it, because it's really not ideal. It's not ideal to be like clicking multiple buttons to switch between like recording windows. But I mean, I can. We'll see how it goes. Flopping the nuts is always fun though, and we are very, very deep. So I'm pretty much probably going to be checking range this deep on this board after I raise an EP. And with no real additional backup, With no real additional backup, I am just going to check call. And yeah, the donk strategy is definitely good for red line. My red line's pretty good. So he goes for a large sizing on the turn again. I think, honestly, we want to just call again. If we raise here and get jammed on, it's really gross because we're going to be free rolling for like 250 big blinds. And we hit the Miracle River. So I'm probably going to check again. I mean, obviously we just like continuously bricked off and he doesn't go for it with blockers, I'm guessing. Oh, he had 2 pair. He was value betting and a flush draw. Well, yeah, and basically when you check call on the flop on like a non-straight board or whatever, and then you check call on the turn, which is also a blank, like you eliminate a ton of like top sets and top 2 pairs from your range. So when the river pairs, your opponent has like a pretty big polarity advantage because they're the ones that have been banged, so they're the ones that are repping the top sets and the top 2 pairs or nothing. So when you have that scenario out of position, like it doesn't really make that much sense to have like a pot leading range. If like a straight comes in or a flush comes in, like sure, like you're gonna have more of that in your range, but when it's like a board pairing card, not really, because he should have all of the best boards. And so then you're potting into a range which is really polarized, so either you're folding out worse hands or you're getting called by better hands. Obviously we had the nuts, but like from a range perspective, like you want to check and he should triple off with hands that have no showdown value, and then you can check raise, that kind of thing. But against the general population, sometimes I find it's better just to try and like get called down light than have them stab super deep. I mean, we're basically not really folding any 4 cards. Pretty good flop, to be honest. It's gonna have to be relatively careful on this board, and he will have 2 pairs here, but raising makes it just very difficult for him because we are so deep. And I think that we want to start leveraging like our whole stack with this particular hand. Obviously we can turn the nuts, we block some of the sets and 2 pairs that he'll continue with, and we can turn backdoor equity, and if we get raised, it's a pretty easy fold. And do we want to double barrel on a 5? If we check back, we basically lose. You'll often have like aces and a gut shot here, so we might have some additional equity in terms of 2 pair. But yeah, I'm gonna be a little bitch on this one, to be honest, because if he has aces and a gut shot, or if he has like 2 pair and a gut shot, he's not gonna fold this blank turn. And if he has the nuts, which he can absolutely have, just calling out of position in a very deep stack situation, or even not in a deep stack situation because it's, you know, a dry board or a lockdown board, we're just going to run into the nuts too often, so just give it up. I do not play on PokerStars. Yeah, I haven't played on PokerStars for a long time. It's a pretty good flop. I think without clubs and blocking like a lot of kind of the bluff stabbing range, I am actually going to lead this flop. And guys, make sure you tune in on Sunday. This was a little bit impromptu for the Friday night sesh, but we're definitely going to be streaming on Sunday. So yeah, let me know. Give me your feedback on the reg tables, and we'll see whether we go Russian cash again or reg tables for that one. But yeah, I mean, pretty good turn. Yeah, not a straightening turn. I'm usually going to be using a half pot sizing. Obviously, we can call a raise, but we have a bit more of a deceptive hand. Alright, so what do we want, guys? Do we want the straight flush, the boat, the regular flush, or the straight? I don't know what we need. I think the regular boat is fine. Probably the straight is good too, to chop. That's not it, guys. That's not it. Does he have pocket eights? I wish the chat was live and we could vote. I don't think that he does. So, I think pretty standard fold. I think pretty standard fold. This guy looks like a super passive super nit, so yeah, pretty standard fold. Probably not a board that I'm gonna have too many leads on, but our hand's definitely good enough to check call, and that's a pretty good turn, I feel like. Unfortunately not good enough to lead. Our range is definitely gonna struggle, but I think we can definitely check call. I think our opponent will take a lot of stabs, and just in like a check down pot in general, I don't think people like go like check bluff. So again, I'm gonna bet the river, hope for some value. And we're obviously not gonna get raised, well, most likely anyway, but pretty good flop. I am actually gonna bet this, given that, you know, I can have aces here, ace jack with a club blocker. Pretty, oof. That's not great. Yeah, I mean, this guy plays pretty tight. I mean, we'll call one. I mean, if we catch another club, maybe. Question is, does he raise the flop? I think just against such a tight player, we can let it go. Feels kind of nitty, to be honest. I feel like more people raise that flop with the king of clubs than the king high flush. I guess. Maybe not, thinking about it. On an ace high board, a lot of people will go for the raise because, you know, aces is pretty prevalent in my range when I bet. And yeah, we could fold the flop. I mean, people don't give up enough. This is unfortunate. I mean, this was already a loose enough call, and this guy's gonna call, and then we have to overcall. This is a classic compound of a punt. Oh, he folded. I mean, pretty good turn. I mean, he should have 0, 3, 4. I mean, maybe obviously with aces. I think that he's definitely going to call a turn with aces here. And the question is, do we jam for value? Or do we just try and, like, basically get aces to call? Or kings to call? Alright, alright, alright. Check raise strategy is dangerous. Yeah, and you probably shouldn't tell people that you check raise all of your monsters. You're gonna be a little bit predictable to play against. If you never bet for value and you're only check raising monsters or check folding, you become really exploitable because people can just bet really small on the river, and then you're gonna check jam or check fold. You definitely need to have a leading range in certain spots. This is really loose, but I'm about to wrap up the stream, so we'll try and get an interesting hand before we go. And this guy's pretty wild, with a bunch of nits behind, so we can hopefully play in position. I mean, it's pretty much about as good as it gets with this hand. Unfortunate turn when he snap calls, because we block a pair in the straight draws. We do block a spade, but yeah, I think we just check back here and then just pray for a jack, just one time. This is pretty thin. pretty thin. It's snapped off. Oh, didn't believe me with the wheel. Tito seems all about the red line. It's not all about the red line, Tito. It is a useful metric, but there's more things that go into it than just, you know, positive red line means you're an aggressive good player. There are plenty of people that have a positive red line and lose. There are plenty of people with a negative win line that win. And it is not always about just smashing the pot button and check raising and getting everyone to fold. It's also about giving up the right hands early on and not calling with marginal hands like this one. Not calling with marginal hands on like the flop and the turn and giving up on the river. I mean, I don't think we can fold this to a third, even with a player behind, with the backdoor, not flush draw. But we're likely just gonna get like check raised or bombed out of this pot, to be honest. And there it is. Alright, we just had a big blind, so let's play one more orbit and then be outie. Since we've been going for 2.5 hours here. Gonna be leading a good amount on limp call boards. Just have such a good kind of range advantage that people are going to struggle to deal with. And we didn't have a bad hand either. Probably raise this if it folds around to me. Very low VPIP in the big blind, but obviously just folding. So the open ender, I guess, with the nut got shot. Pretty strong hand with a pair blocker. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and check. 2 pair on the turn. Now we can, I mean, definitely call a bet. There's no real value in raising once we check back the flop. Because obviously we cap our range pretty significantly. I would actually probably have called if he bet. And question is, do we have value in betting? Probably not. Sorry, I was reading the comments. This was a misclick over here. Definitely not an open. So I'm sure we'll get 3-bet. I think these queens are probably connected enough to open, even though they're rainbow in this setting. How important is the red line when you have 5BB 100? Are you saying if you're a 5BB 100 winner? I mean, I would look at your red line and I would say that, like, you probably want your red line to not be more than like negative 10 BB 100. If your red line's like negative 15, negative 20 BB 100, it becomes tough to be a winning player. That's when it starts being a problem. But if it's like negative 10 BB 100 and you're still beating the game, like you're probably doing enough right stuff. Alright guys, that is going to be it from me. Tune in on Sunday if you want to see me play again, and definitely let me know between the beginning of the video on the reg tables versus Russian cash. And as always, check out plopokercoaching.com. Set yourself up with a free session if you want to chat about your game and some strategy to improve. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in, everyone, and good luck at the table.